Oh, you've redecorated. I don't like it. So we got a clip for the upcoming Doctor Who Christmas special, and I was determined to not watch it because you may have heard it if you watch my non-Doctor Who videos that at this point, once I know I really want to see something aside from a first trailer, I try to cut myself off from the marketing. Like, I went to Thor Ragnarok only having seen that first trailer. I have only watched the first full trailer of it wasn't even the first full trailer. It was the first teaser trailer for Star Wars The Last Jedi. I've cut myself off, and I was determined to do the same for the Christmas special, but it's Doctor Who. I couldn't stop myself, so might as well talk about it. Now, this clip, it gave us a little bit of interaction between David Bradley playing the first Doctor and, of course, Peter Capaldi playing the 12th Doctor for the last time. Sad. But in any case, we get a little bit of their dynamic, their interaction, and for this bit, it's not unsurprising. I mean, it's kind of traditional that most of the time when the Doctor initially runs into himself, there's a bit of, not necessarily antagonism, but like they don't hit it off right away. I think the only ones who did were maybe 10 and 11, but even then they had to have a little bit of a sonic screwdriver measuring contest. So, I mean, that's pretty traditional. So I think this was a thing that was a very safe thing to put out there as a teaser because it doesn't feel like it gives anything away because it's the kind of interaction that we really expect. I mean, to the point that you almost wonder, would it be better to play against that, do something really different, except that I think we'd all be really disappointed if we didn't get something like that, especially knowing how grumpy the first Doctor was. So it feels good and it feels true to that. I find it interesting that we do actually find out now a location for the setting of this Christmas special. I have been trying to avoid knowing a lot about it going in, so I don't know if this was revealed before, but it's South Pole during World War I. I knew World War I, well, I didn't know if it was 2 or 1. I had gathered from people who know uniforms better than me that they identified that character's uniform, the one played by Mark Gatiss, as being a World War I uniform, where I personally couldn't tell one way or the other. So I knew that was going to factor in some way, but I really, coming off of The Doctor Falls, I was really convinced that he was meeting the first Doctor on the 10th planet. Right before that, the first Doctor's own regeneration happened. I was so certain that was going to be the case, especially coming off of a Manda Cybermen encounter, but no. So we're on Earth at the South Pole during World War I. Okay. And I thought, oh, that look of the wheels turning in Mark Gatiss's head when he was told World War I and him following down the strand in his head of what that means. That was a sad moment, and he plays it well. I actually, at least as far as Doctor Who is concerned specifically, I like Mark Gatiss as an actor better than as a writer. I think the best writing I've seen from him was on Sherlock. I haven't loved his writing on Doctor Who, but I like him as a performer, and he actually seems to be bringing more pathos and more humanity to this part than we usually get from him. He usually does kind of slimy, skeevy. He's good at that. But this feels like a little bit of a departure for him. I guess I'm not sure what else there is to say. Like I said, the interaction between Capaldi and Bradley is good. There's a good sense of rhythm and comedic timing. I like how it's going back and forth between the first Doctor's annoyance at what he's seeing inside the TARDIS, going, "Was I burgled?" and this poor World War I officer just having the normal amazement and just sort of fading back between the two of them, with this guy in awe and the first Doctor just annoyed. It's hard to tell if this clip is intact, and by that I mean I have to wonder if it's slightly shortened for the purpose of only having a 2-minute clip, and maybe there's a bit more back and forth that they kind of removed out of this. That's possible. I don't know if that's the case. I'm going to assume not, but if that is not the case, if this is an intact clip, they have the first Doctor up to speed that he is encountering himself pretty quickly, which I like. Sometimes that can be dragged out. Not that Doctor Who has dragged it out exceptionally, but in general in fiction, when there's like one character who knows something, expects the other to figure it out or to know it. Let's drag this out. Doctor Who did that, not with the Doctor and himself, but it did it more in Husbands of River Song. And while it paid off well at the end of that episode, it's a thing that gets old. Overall, I liked this clip. And the timing was interesting for me because I actually have only recently started to try and really ramp up getting back into filling the holes in my knowledge of classic Who, and some First Doctor stories is some of the stuff I've started with. There is going to be more sort of coming down the line in relation to that, but that'll be for another time. But for right now, having recently just taken in some First Doctor stuff, David Bradley is as good in the actual part as he was playing the actor who played the part before in Adventures in Space and Time. So I think this could potentially be really nice and just a pleasant send-off, a nice Christmas episode. We'll see. The Christmas episodes can sometimes kind of get torn between trying to be light and fun because it's Christmas, and especially with something like this that also needs to be a goodbye. I hope there isn't a tonal clash from that, and they can have both and have them both live in the same space, but we'll see. But this clip, cool, I like it. So those are my thoughts on the clip that was released for the upcoming Christmas special of Doctor Who. Did you see it? What are your thoughts on it? Whatever they are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check me out on Twitter at Council of Geeks. Give a listen to the Council of Geeks podcast, available on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher Radio. I am also one half of the Punch Like a Girl podcast. That is a presentation of the Fire and Water Podcast Network. fireandwaterpodcast.com. Latest episode just dropped, so why don't you check it out? It was a review of Thor, Goddess of Thunder, Volume 1. So give that a listen. Links for everything is down below, and until next time, this council is adjourned.